Hello everyone, this is Ivar once again, your resident artist here at Bukidnon Study Center. And I would like to welcome everyone for the second week of ARTEKULTURA 3. So let us start with our topic today, how to paint landscapes the easy way. Before we start painting, we have to make sure that all the materials are complete. So we should have at least a bucket of water, brushes, we need to have some paints, yellow, red, blue, and white, some wipes for cleaning the brushes, and of course our panel boards, and a mixing palette. Okay, so let us start. Before you paint, you need to decide of what kind of landscape would you like to paint. Would it be a sunrise, sunset, or just an ordinary day? Because the color of the sky would depend on the time of the day. Say for example, sunsets are mostly composed of yellow, reds, and oranges, while sunrise are mostly yellows and whites. And the normal time of the day, the sky is always blue. So let's paint with, I'll decide by starting to paint a noon view in which we are going to use the color blue for the sky. So you need to divide the canvas into 3 levels, the background, the middle ground, and the foreground. Of course, the foreground is the nearest and the background is the farthest. So let's start by doing the background. So I'm going to paint the sky first. So sky, to make the color blue lighter, you need to add some white here. And that will be my color of my sky. You can actually experiment here. There are many types of or ways to do the sky. You can do a cross strokes, or simply just left to right strokes. As you can see, I'm mixing the sky blue by mixing blue and white. So I'm going to add some clouds by adding some white colors, because the clouds are white. Here. Okay. So you have the clouds now. And then, of course, let's paint the mountains. So as I've taught in the last week about color mixing, I'll teach you guys how to mix the color brown. This time we're going to mix a dark brown. So I'll start by green and then add in some red to create the brown. So I'm going to paint the mountains. Let's make it darker by adding more blue. So I'll always start with the dark colors to paint the mountains. There. So sometimes I don't care usually on what will happen at the lower part of the canvas, because I will decide on what to do on the part here later. So it's from top to bottom. When I paint, it's from top to bottom. There. So then I will decide that this part here are some trees. So I'm going to get another brush. I'm going to mix green. Green is blue and yellow. And again, always start with the dark color So I'm gonna add more blue to make the green very dark. And then this part here would be some foliage or trees. I'm gonna make it more darker, the green. There. All right. So I have established now the dark colors. Then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do here. So if it's gonna be, I'm gonna put a little bit of water here. So I'll just use a fan brush. A fan brush is this one. And then I'm gonna grab the paint downward. Now let's add some color. There. And then you grab it downward. There. This is to suggest the reflection of the trees into the water. There. All right. So I have now established the part of the water. And then I'm going to get another brush. And then we are now on the foreground. So let's say I'm going to put some part of land here. So I'll go back again by mixing green. Yeah. So the foreground again is the nearest, and the background is the farthest. There. Always start with the dark color. There. All right. Okay, after we have established now the dark colors, so let us proceed by putting on the details of this by adding the lighter shades of the color. So I have to teach you already how to mix the brown. So this time, let us create a lighter brown by using orange. So a lighter brown is orange mixed with a little blue. So careful with the color blue because this is a very dark color. So you just have to get a little bit of this to mix a light brown. There. So this is what we are going to use to create the details of the mountain. So I'm not going to cover entirely the dark browns. I just have to put where the light would hit. So in this case, my imaginary light is from the top. So the light portions will be the one that I'm going to paint with the light brown here. All right. All right. So I'm gonna mix another color which is lighter than this one. So I'm going to mix a very light brown, lighter than the thing that we mixed. So how am I going to do that? I'm just going to add some white. All right, and this time I'm going to use a fan brush because fan brush has a very random strokes. There. So, not to cover the two colors that I've just put it here. All right. And then last would be the lightest by adding more white. There. If you've noticed, I only painted a portion of the mountain because this is the only part where the lights would hit. Then let's continue with the trees here. So I started with a dark color. So I put a lighter green on top of it. So I'm just gonna add yellow to make this tallow green lighter. And by using a fan brush, I would put on some by a pointing stroke. And I'm not covering all the greens entirely. I'm putting all this light green in random, not to create a pattern because trees doesn't have a pattern. So should be in random. No? Doesn't have a pattern like a circle or a triangle. Should be random. There. And then create a lighter tone or shade of green by adding more yellow. And then repeat the process, put it in random. There. And then the lighter one by adding white to make it even lighter, and then repeat the process. There. All right. So if you've noticed, what I did was just starting from dark color to light color. So as what I have said earlier, this part here is water. So we need to emphasize that part there by using white color for the ripples. So I'm just gonna have to make thin lines. Let's use a fan brush because fan brush has a thinner stroke. So I'm just gonna make some fine lines. To suggest the water. Do not overdo this because you might erase everything. Just be careful by putting the whites because white could erase your drawing. All right. And then let's proceed to the foreground. The foreground is the most important part because this is the nearest. So you have to emphasize the details more clearly. And then we are going to repeat the process as what we did here. We start by mixing green and then add some yellow to make it lighter, and then start by putting the grasses. Okay, that's how you do the grasses. Or you can do it like this. Use a pointed brush and then do it like that. That is also acceptable. But what I do is just use a fan brush and then do it like that. This is much faster. All right. And then, to make this lighter, this color here, I'm just gonna add yellow. And then, it's the same thing as what I did here. It's dark to light. There. And then the lightest one, use white. There. Okay. If you want to add trees, then it's the same. If you want to add trees, the process is the same. Start by making a very dark brown. Let's say I wanted to put a tree here. So I started with a very dark brown. And all its branches. All right. Let's say here. All right. And also maybe another tree here. So always start with the dark color. All right. And then add a lighter brown. Simply add yellow to make a light brown. And then add it here. Need a little bit of white. All right, there. And then light color on top of the darker one. It's the same process over and over again. You cover the dark color with a lighter shade of it, but not entirely covering it. All right. Since we already have the branches, of course, we need to paint some leaves. And then using a fan brush, green, yellow. Always start with the dark color. So this is what I like about fan brush, because it creates like this, a texture like this. So start with a dark color. Maybe I'll start with a blue-green to make it darker. There. Right? You should put it on random, because trees doesn't have patterns. You don't want to end up creating a heart-shaped tree or a circular tree or a square tree. So you should put it in random. And then lighter color on top of a darker one. So let's add up some lighter color on top of the darker one, and then you have to put it in random, because you don't want to end up creating a circular tree or a heart-shaped tree. Trees doesn't have a pattern, they are asymmetrical. So make sure to put the leaves in random. And then last, you have to make the lightest green by adding some white, and then there. That is the part where light hits. And then again, put it in random. Do not think of a pattern. It should be in random. There. All right, so we're almost done. So this is the part where We are going to do the finishing touches. These are the some important details that you want to add on your painting. Here, I would like to, you should be fast in deciding what you're gonna add here. Here, like in here, I would like to add some birds in here. There you go. There. And then, I'm using a very dark shade of brown to emphasize the details or the shadows. It's like the part wherein you would like to draw something using a marker pen. But in this case, you're just using a very dark shade of color. Mostly I use violets because violets are closely related to black when it is put in a canvas with different colors. Here. There, I'm putting on some dark colors, and we're almost done. All right, I think this is done. So, last is you put your signature. All right, and done. So, we're done. So, this is how to paint landscapes the easy way. And I would like to encourage the participants to promote your place by painting a very famous spot that is found in your locality. And I would like to thank also everyone for joining us this ARTEKULTURA 3. And I'll be hoping to see your outputs to be displayed at our art gallery on the first floor of Bukidnon Studies Center. I would like to thank also Sir Angelbert Cabonok and Ma'am Loretta Soldin-Layan for this opportunity to speak in front of you. And of course, watch out for the next ARTEKULTURA before this year ends. So kita-kits for the next ARTEKULTURA and goodbye.